Hello everybody, I'm back. Kind of. You see, after the whole factory reset thing, I was thinking to myself how I'm going to be able to keep up making content. Because you see, I have my editing software reserved on my USB stick, but a lot of the other stuff I lost before, completely gone. I don't even think I'm going to be able to do a sequel to that place roulette thing. It might happen, but who knows. So, I was thinking to myself of content ideas, but then I thought of the bright idea of, hey, I've been starting to play Gran Turismo 2 on my emulator. I'm really into cut content, so why don't I talk about the cut vehicles of Gran Turismo 2 that you can still access in the final game, just with a GameShark code. So I did that. Now there is already a video about the cut cars we never saw, and I strongly recommend you watch that. It's gonna be one of the nicest 45 minutes of your life, you know, if you're into cut content like I am. But that talked about the cut content we never saw. This is the cut content we can still access via a cheat device. But before I do, I want to show you how I did it. So the first thing you have to do is click the link in the description. If you're lucky, you'll see a thing called Gran Turismo 2 GameShark codes, and when that appears, you can scroll down until you see one specific cheat, the Buy Any Car Anywhere cheat. So what you have to do is scroll down to the non-pro format and then copy this code right here. So I'm gonna get a notepad file and then paste it here. So this is the code I want. Now I need to scroll down and find a vehicle I want. I'm going to scroll around them and then highlight something. Okay, we'll go with that one. Let's say you wanted the Fiat 598. So what you do then is you take this and then you copy it into it. So 6058-134C. Now here's the thing about actually adding the code. That differs on what you're actually doing. But for the thing I'm doing and what most other people are going to be using, that's called EPSXC, this is how you do it. So you boot up Gran Turismo 2 and you boot up Gran Turismo 2 and then you press escape and look into the cheat section. Then you click download and then exit out of your emulator. Once you've done that, look for the ID for this game, which is SCUS_944.55, and you'll see a list of different cheats. Wait a minute, this isn't the right one. 94488, yeah, that's the one. So what you have to do here is copy a code slot, paste it, and call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it Buy Any Car Anywhere. Buy Any Car Anywhere Fiat 598, since that was the one we got. So then you take your code, copy, and then paste. Then press save. Now what you have to do is you have to hop on into EPSXC again. Just make sure you've saved it. So yeah, then you pop onto EPSXC again, boot up the game, and then press escape. Then go into cheat codes, and then you'll see the code that you want, the Fiat 598 code. Press OK, press continue, and then what you have to do is, let me just delete this. Okay, so we've loaded into the game. Just give it a second. This is the Japanese copy, so I'm gonna load into memory card slot 2. So keep in mind that you have the code for the Fiat 598. Now all you have to do is go into the dealerships and buy any car, just any car. So, like any vehicle. I usually buy the Audi R8 because it's the quickest to get, and I gave myself a cheat that gives me infinite money. So when you buy that, look down at the name of the vehicle. You'll know you got it right if it either says no name or the vehicle you want. So I'm going to purchase the Audi A3. And there you go, there's the Fiat 500 over there. And so then we go into the grid thing. Wait, no, we press the home button. So we go to the home, garage, and that is the Fiat 500 that you wanted. See? It's simple. So hopefully now you can actually do this to your game, and let's get to the actual content of the video. Now before we begin, a lot of these vehicles are lame vehicles that only appear in the arcade mode, so you can still play them without any codes at all. So I'm just gonna quickly shift through them because they don't deserve any time. Okay, now let's get to the good shit. Let's start with one that's rather infamous with the Gran Turismo 2 community, the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR. This car was pictured in early release screenshots of Gran Turismo 2 with racing liveries, and according to the cutting room floor, on a sticker for a demo disc, it's shown a road version as well. Now there's no photo evidence of this online, so take that with a grain of salt. But it didn't make it in because out of nowhere, EA appeared and said, "Hey, if you give us the CLK, we'll give you even more money!" And so they did. But there's still a Mercedes-Benz CLK with racing modifications left in the game's files that you can hack into your game, albeit with decals unfinished, and with no name. Yeah! Suck on that, EA! But for obvious reasons, the CLK race car can't appear as an AI vehicle, because, you know, it's completely cut in the game and they had to hide any forms of existence for that thing. But was there a cut vehicle that still did? Well, yes there is. By accident. That car would be the VW Polo 16V, and I don't know if this is just my driving or if the car wasn't intended for this, but Christ, this thing is slippery. Like, every single time I do anything, I die. Turn over 100 miles an hour, I die. Touch the off-road, I die. Do anything, like even slightly collide with a vehicle, I die. Yeah, this isn't the most eventful of the vehicles to drive, but it's easily the most complete of the cut cars because, like I said, it can appear as a permanent vehicle. And you can probably tell that you got it because it has no name. So you're just going to be racing on one of the tracks and then you'll just see, what the fuck is this? A car with no name? What? And quick important thing to note, it's the only cut car in the game that actually has its own description. It's almost like they completely forgot to add this car to the shop with how much that was finished for it. Really gets you to think, doesn't it? And speaking of cars that made it to the shop but also didn't, here's the racing modified Vauxhall Vectra 2.5 V6. Now, let me explain to my home continent viewers. It's not mind-blowing knowledge that Vauxhalls are unique to the PAL version of the game, while NTSC gets opulence instead, along with the NTSC also getting a Cura's unique to them to help balance it out. But why did I put this here if it's such common knowledge? 2 words: racing modifications. If you apply racing modifications to the Opel Vectra GSI, the 2 colors for the racing modifications are red and green, but for the Vauxhall Vectra GSI, the 2 colors for the racing modifications are red and purple. So even if you racing modify your Opel Vectra GSI, you won't be able to make it look like the purple one, meaning that the purple Vectra with racing modifications is unseen in this game. There, are you happy now, European? While on the topic of regional differences, I would like to talk about what I like to call the ESO collection. This is a series of cars that had certain brands changed in the conversion from PAL 20SC. The changes being that cars in this collection show ESO logos on the PAL and NTSC J release, but on the NTSC U release, well, ESO didn't exist in America, so they changed it to the American counterpart, Exxon. I think I like the way the Exxon cars look a little more, but I would prefer to use the O's more than over looks, just to say, hey Americans, I'm British and you can't stop me! Now I did say collection, so I'm gonna put on screen all the cars affected that I know of. If anybody knows any more cars that are affected by this, please tell me in the comments. Now you may have noticed while I was showing all the arcade cars that I didn't mention the Daihatsu Storia Rally car, but why didn't I do that? Well, that's because the Daihatsu is a doozy. You see, it does appear in Gran Turismo 2 simulation mode, but as a completely different version with like headlights on the front, while this version is used for the arcade version. Yeah, they're essentially double dipping with modes, so yeah, that's all I have to say for that. Let's move on! The Lancer Evolution 5. No, the other one. No, the other one. Yeah, that one. Now, not much is known about this Lancer Evo 5 rally car. All we do know is that it was originally intended to be an arcade-only car, before it got replaced with that. No, the other that! Yeah, that. And while we're talking about cars we don't know much about, here's the Roof CR4, or as it's better known, the Black Demon. Now, it was intended to appear in Gran Turismo 2, but it never did. It never appeared in any game after that. And even crazier, the name of it is Delete. So maybe it was a placeholder for the other roofs? I don't know, this one roof is so elusive that it's confusing me. But here's my theory as to why it exists. Well, it was going to be in the game, but then, because they had another named roof, the Roof CCR Yellowbird, they decided not to do it. I don't know, I don't have any fucking ideas as to how this didn't appear. This car's name is Delete when you think of it as its actual name. What do you want me to say? Because what I can say about is the Jaguar XJR 15 GT race car. This is a racing modification left in the game's code that has all the properties of a racing modification, but without any real liveries. But what I find interesting is that if you compare this to the normal XJR 15, it's a slightly darker shade of blue. Now, I don't have footage to do this because I'm lazy as shit. This tells me that the developers didn't completely leave it alone. But then again, if you were to make a finished racing livery of this, all you would have to do to match the real-life counterparts is add a couple numbered circles. Maybe Polifny's more lazy than I am. Then what I forgot about late into making this video, it's the Acura NSX GTR LM Edition racing modifications, but this isn't the files, but you can't modify it, so that's kind of cool, I guess. Let's move on. And then there's a cut Ford car race car. Now, I had no idea you could even add racing modifications to the Ford car, but apparently you can. But there was also intended to be a version that was just the race car. Now, the biggest discernible difference here is the wheels and the fact that it doesn't have its own name, so it just defaults to the default RX-7 A-Spec LM edition. So that's interesting, but the only thing that's really changing is the title and the wheels, so it's kinda cool, I guess. But now, now is where the fun begins, because there are 3 cars in this video that I've intentionally been saving till last. 3 cars that you can still get without cheat codes, but all of them having slight differences to their main counterparts. Whether it's a small icon that isn't there, an entire livery, or it not existing at all. This is what I like to call the Fabled 3. I meant to say the Forgotten 3, but I'm not re-recording that line! The first car in the Forgotten 3 is the Ford Focus rally car from the 1.0 version. Now, the difference here is very subtle, but I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to figure out what it is. Note everything that's on the car's livery so that you don't get it wrong. Have you noted everything? Good! Well, here's what it looks like in the future versions. Now, do you notice something missing? I'm going to play a little bit again from the original clip so that you can see it, but this time I'm going to make it so that the camera's close onto the answer. Do you see it now? Yep, there's a little Valvoline logo that goes in the 1.0 version that doesn't go used in the future versions. Well, why is this? Well, I think that's all thanks to the second car in this list. That car would be the racing modified Ford Taurus SHO 99, also from the NTSC 1.0 version. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it closely resembles a real-life NASCAR at the time. Now, I forgot the driver's name, but for licensing reasons, in all the future versions, it's a more generic livery. Now, this is probably the reason why the little Valvoline logo on the door doesn't appear. But, for some reason, if you load up any version of the arcade mode, then it's gonna allow the livery just fine. It won't change it to the generic design. This is kind of funny because in all the future releases, if you load it from there, then it turns into the generic livery. It's like, if you're going to the arcade party, it'll allow you there. But if you're going to the simulation party, please, you're not getting a Christmas card. But these are all just visual changes, right? Well, there's one that is close to that, but is way harder to get, and is the entire reason one of the most infamous glitches on the first version of Gran Turismo 2 for the NTSC region exists. And that would be the Shelby GT500 KR. Now, this car is completely gotten for its value with its name, as it's basically identical to the GT500 from all other versions, but with a key twist. That twist being how difficult it is to get into a PAL or NTSC save without codes. What you have to do is get the car into Japanese version, which in itself isn't easy, then open memcard rex and change the variables so that save data can load on an NTSC or PAL console, which has a pretty funny effect on the language if you load it from Japanese back to the normal language, and then go into arcade mode, and then you can finally access it without cheating. So if you have a GT500, you're kinda cool. But if you have a GT500 KR, then you're the tits! If you didn't use codes. Now you may think this is where the story ends, but it's not. Because not only was it completely cut out of all other versions, but it also had a terrifying impact on the NTSC 1.0 version of the game, in which in itself birthed a demon. You see, with the car's removal, it messed up the IDs of the cars above it, which all appear in the endurance races, making it so that there's always one potential opponent that is supposed to be in the previous event mismatch onto the wrong one. Now, at best, this is the Citroen Xantia added to a stage with race cars, and at worst, it creates bitch!
So easy. What?
The entire removal of the GT500 KR was the entire reason that the Vector M12 LM Edition appears on the trial mounted 30 laps. And this is way worse than the Ford GT40 because A, it's in an endurance race, B, it's a race car in an area where it's near impossible to get them, and C, because it's 384 brake horsepower over the limit! Now, thankfully, this was fixed after NTSC 1.0, but geez, talk about birthing a demon. So yeah, because I said I was leaving them for last, I guess that means I had to finish the video now. There was one that I did leave out, which was the Japanese racing modifications for the Honda Accord Type R, which has an Accord Type R logo on it, but it's replaced with the Kenwood logo in all the others. And no, even if you import it from that other country, you can't get the Accord Type R logo onto the other countries. It just keeps converting to the Kenwood logo. I guess they just completely overhauled the original file so that you can't get the original ones from Japan. Maybe they foresaw this video or some shit. But anyways, tell me what you thought of the video, and if I missed anything in the comments down below. So thanks ever so much for watching, and I swear I'm gonna get back to my normal style very soon.